Okay, well, thank you for those of you who have signed in and for attending this evening. This is going to be an important meeting. We're going to go over some financial matters. My name is Andy Mitchell. I am the president of Swim Ontario. I am joined tonight by a number of our board members who are on the call, as well as the staff from Swim Ontario. I just wanted to let you know, and you probably already saw it on your screen, this meeting is being taped or being recorded, and we want to do that so that it'll be posted on our website. And for those clubs or individuals who were not able to attend for various reasons, they'll be able to go online and take a look at it. Tonight, our format is fairly straightforward. I'm going to begin the presentation. Darren is going to elaborate on it, and then we're going to have a few minutes for some questions and answers. What we're going to do is limit it to one question and one follow-up. Dean will be moderating that part of the meeting. We probably, if all goes well, we'll have 15 or 20 minutes for questions at the end. So one of the reasons why we wanted to do this meeting now in April, because what we're going to talk about tonight is essentially going to have an impact on clubs in November of 2026. But we realize many of you are in the process of developing your budgets and your approaches for the next swim year, and we wanted to provide this information to you as quickly as we can. So I just wanted to start off that I'm starting this meeting. What we're advising you tonight has been approved by the board, and we have directed the staff at Swim Ontario to begin implementation starting, as I said, in September of 2026. So if we go on to the next slide. So like many clubs, I'm sure, Swim Ontario is experiencing cost pressures that need to be addressed both in the short and the medium term. And most of these, I think everybody on this call will be familiar with. So we're facing significant inflationary pressures and have been for some time now. Since the end of COVID, some 4 years ago, we faced about a 16% increase in costs. That's pretty similar to the CPI, which has gone up about 15.9% during that period. We have not chosen during that period of time to increase registration fees in any meaningful way. We've worked hard to absorb those increases as long as we could, but we are no longer, as an organization, in a position to do that. I think probably our biggest cost pressure right now is the cost of safe sport compliance. Darren is going to go into that in detail, but I can tell you that those costs are now in excess of $200,000, or will be this year in excess of $200,000, and it will be closing in on $250,000. So this is largely our complaint and discipline processes that needed to be put in place to respond to the safe sport compliance. We've also, at the same time, introduced a number of new programs for clubs. Most of you are aware of these, and these have had positive benefits for coaches, for swimmers, for clubs, and for officials. And because we've had to dip into our reserves to fund many of these things, the pressures and the new programming, we're in a position where we need to replenish those reserves. If you go on to the next slide. So that gives you a little bit about the cost pressure. So over the last 4 years, inflation has been, the CPI has been up 15.9%. We've increased fees by 0.86%, so a little less than 1%. Inflationary pressures since COVID have had significant impacts on travel, accommodations, hospitality, and the hosting of our camps for swimmers and coaches. We are experiencing significant increases in cost in those areas. When we first came out of COVID, we experienced a rapid expansion of registration as swimmers returned into excuse me, we had a lot more registrations and our registration numbers went up fairly quickly. That increased our revenue and really for a period of time masked some of these pressures. That growth largely has plateaued now, and with the limitations that we have in the amount of water in Ontario, and its effect on both training and competitions, it is not likely that we are going to see significant growth, at least not in the near term. So if you go on to the next slide, there we go. So the board has approved the following measures, which Darren is going to go into in some detail with you. So we are going to be establishing a safe sport fee to be paid by each club, and Darren will go into how that calculation is being done. We will be increasing effective September of 2026 registration fees roughly by 7%. It's slightly different by category, but roughly at 7%. And that'll be followed by annual adjustments at or about the increase in the consumer price index. We will also be introducing a new post-meet fee structure. This will replace the gold bonus, it will replace sanction fees, and it will replace officials' registration fees. It mirrors what many other provinces are doing in Canada, and this format better reflects the actual costs of Swim Ontario in terms of sanctioning meets, monitoring compliance, and hosting our provincial properties. So that, in a nutshell, colleagues, is an introduction to what we're going to be doing for September of 2026, and I'm going to ask Darren to explain some of the details. So Darren, over to you.
Thank you, Andy. So as Andy mentioned, Safe Sport compliance costs, which is a government-mandated administration and dispensation of complaints and discipline, by the end of this year, will have reached $225,000 annually. Last year, we were about $210,000. So as AI takes over and complaints become more complex and more people are developing lawyer letters and whatever else, it complicates our dispensation of the complaints. So costs go up. As a result, we're going to be assessing each club a $5 per competitive swimmer fee that will be tacked on to their club affiliation fees. And I'll explain more on that when we get to that slide. Next slide, please. So as Andy mentioned, we have several new program initiatives. One of the most exciting program initiatives is what we're going to call our regional and community program deliveries. That's essentially Heather Bruce's programming, grassroots, young coach development, and opportunities for regional camps and coach development with Heather's program. The other key thing that we're introducing, or did introduce this year, which has been very successful by all accounts, is the club mentorship, club outreach program. We're expanding that to have a Masters Ambassador program, which is essentially club outreach for masters. And of course, as many of you have used over the past year, the staff support hotline, whether that's me or Heather or any of our other staff members, Nicole, Christy, Heather Bruce, Dean, perhaps, providing personalized assistance as needed. As you've heard many times over the last year and a half, advocacy for new pool construction, and we've had some success in that area. I don't know, Dean, if you want to talk just for 5 seconds briefly about that so we can update everybody, but there are new pools coming online that we can directly attribute to the success of this program.
I think what's happening is we're having great discussions that have never been done before, which is really helpful with post-secondary institutes, but also with the municipalities, targeted municipalities. I think it'll be Monday, May 7th, I think it is, we will have a call with our strategic with Strategy Corps, who will go through a helpful guide for clubs who are going to be speaking with their municipalities around pools. So I believe there will be a notice on that coming out. So other than that, it's a slow process. It's not a sprint, that's for sure. So anyways, making some progress, having some good discussions.
And then Dean and Stu and Heather Bruce and others continue to revamp, revitalize, renew, reinvigorate our Paralympic and Olympic stream programming with new camps, new initiatives. And our para programming lead, Darda Sales, has been very key in developing new opportunities for our Paralympic stream swimmers. All in all, from 2024 through the end of this fiscal, Swim Ontario will be investing $7.6 million in these key areas of programming. And go to the next slide. So 1.9 million in our swimmer pathway, that's Olympic and Paralympic development. 1.7 into our Swim Ontario hosted competitions. Those are OJI, a new competition that's a year away called the Ontario Senior Invitational. Athletes funding at $500,000. Coach development and mentorship projects, including new projects that we're working on with BE Leadership, Brian Eady's group, including NCCP education and others. Heather Bruce's regional and community program deliveries at about $265,000. Officials and volunteer training projects at $280,000. About $560,000 for club support and mentoring. That's a club outreach program and other projects. And as Dean just talked about, our strategic projects, including Strategy Corp and pool allocation advocacy. One of the things I'd like to bring to your attention is over the past 3 years, we've spent about $140,000 on staff overtime and travel directly attributed to supporting clubs with issues. Next slide. So as Andy mentioned, replenishing our depleted reserves, we've hit them pretty hard over the last year and a bit, and that's caused us a little bit of concern with some of our investments. But we have a plan to replenish them, and we will be replenishing them slowly over the next 2 to 3 years. As such, Swim Ontario is committed to yearly registration fee increases that will reflect the cost of inflation or the consumer price index. Right now, that's estimated, depending on inflation, 3 to 4% a year. Next slide. So what do we need? Well, basically, Swim Ontario controls 2 buckets of money. We control registration fees, and we control what we call meet revenue, which is post-meet fees and the fees that we charge athletes to attend our provincial competitions, OJI, open water, etc. Those 2 buckets added together need to be between 3.2 and 3.25 million for us to reach our goals for the budget that we have planned. The rest of the fees that are included are not necessarily within our control, like government grants are being clawed back like government grants, and participation fees in some of our programming like camps, etc. Although we set those fees, the participation in the camps is not within our control, so it's not a reliable source of income. Next slide. So club affiliation. Current club affiliation, the maximum amount any club will pay is $1,500. The minimum amount any club will pay, or the smallest clubs will pay, is $100. So the very, very largest clubs pay $1,500. The very smallest clubs pay $100, and that's based off of $5 per swimmer with competitive swimmers as of August 31st. So if you have 300 swimmers in your club, you're paying $1,500. If you have 400 competitive swimmers in your club, you're paying $1,500. If you have 20 swimmers in your club, you're paying $100. If you have 30 swimmers in your club, you're paying $150, et cetera, et cetera. The Safe Sport fee will be equal to the club affiliation fee, $5 per swimmer based off of competitive swimmers as of August 31st. We're going to continue with the $200 fee that was once specific to the conference. We're going to broaden the use of that $200 and call it the community sport education fee. So some years it will be applied to the conference, other years it will be applied to community sport education opportunities. The current coach fee of $100 per club remains in place and will not change. So essentially what we're adding, as Andy mentioned, is a $5 fee per competitive swimmer to offset our Safe Sport costs. Next slide, please. As Andy also mentioned, we're at a 7% increase for fees for pre-comp, summer pre-comp, competitive swimmers, varsities, and coaches. That's rounded, so in some cases it's 6.9%, in other cases it's a little over 7%, but generally it's a 7% increase. You'll see in the middle column current fees, in the right-hand column the 7% increase. For our master swimmers, we need to bring the costs up reflective of the service that they're receiving. We can't continue to fund the master's programming at registration fee costs that are below our pre-competitive swimmers costs. So as a result, we've added a $20 flat fee for both masters and independent masters. Next slide, please. Our post-meet fees. So as Andy mentioned, we have a new post-meet fee structure that is very similar to what several other provinces in Canada are doing. So we're eliminating the $50 sanction fee. We're eliminating the gold bonus $1 per swim. And we're also eliminating the $6 officials registration fee. So officials will still have to register. Clubs will not have to pay a fee on their behalf. Officials will not have to pay a fee on their own behalf. So these will be replaced with a new post-meet fee model that's outlined on the next slide. So for varsity meets, class 1 time trials, class 2 time trials, we're having a administration fee of $100. So no gold bonus, no per swim, no sanction fee, just administration fee of $100. So if you want a time trial, pay your $100. We do the work for you in terms of setting up the competition, and we go from there. In-house competitions, maximum 3-hour session, one club only, simplified meet package. Hosts can charge an entry fee if they wish. That fee to Swim Ontario will be $3 per swimmer. Age group meets, invitationals, and masters meets. For one-day meets, it will be $4 per swimmer. Sorry, $4 per meet per swimmer. A 2-day invitational will be $9 per meet per swimmer. 3-day invitationals will be $15 per meet per swimmer. And 4-day invitationals will be $24 per meet per swimmer. So basically we're implementing a per swimmer charge that increases slightly depending on whether you're running a 1-day meet or 4-day meet. Okay, next slide, please. And we have time for questions. Now, if you don't get a chance to ask your question today, please send your questions to info@swimontario.com. They will be kept in a folder, and we will do our best to answer them as they come in.
Okay, thank you, Darren. So if you want to ask a question, raise your hand, and your microphone will be turned on. Please ask your question, and then mute yourself, and then in all likelihood it'll be Darren that will be answering your question. So, Nicole, I'm assuming you can see the hands.
I see. It's Rick Burton. Rick?
The question I have is for clubs that are hosting regionals or provincials or OJIs or like whatever provincial level meets, what will be the cost? Same as the age group for 1, 2, 3, and 4-day meets?
Yeah, so regional meet is basically considered an invitational. So
Okay.
it will fit into whatever format, whether it's a 3-day meet or a 4-day meet or a 2-day meet.
But just to reiterate what Dean and Darren have said, I know that's a lot of information. So if you have a question later tonight or tomorrow, the easiest way is just to put it in an email and send it to the info@SwimOntario. That's being monitored, to put a question in that way. That would work.
Okay. Is there a question from Cody, Brad?
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for the presentation. Just a quick question. How did it come to the conclusion to remove the $5 swimmer fee, or officials fee, when we're increasing costs in other areas, instead of keeping that fee to, say, support officials development, offset the cost of some of these loss leaders like provincial properties, et cetera?
Sure. Basically, you can blame REMS. There's no way to easily invoice clubs for officials registration, and that is taking a lot of staff time to do that. Plus, we're the only province in the country that charges officials for registration. So it's just a matter of collecting the money somewhere else, because whether it was post-meet fees or what we're currently doing now, most clubs were still paying for their officials. So it really doesn't change invoicing the clubs in a significant way.
Janice McDonald.
Hi, can you just kind of maybe quantify for me, the raise in the master's fees is almost 60%. How did you come about getting that kind of a fee increase? That seems pretty substantial for master swimmers.
It is, but the $29.60 that master swimmers are currently paying is less than, quite a bit less than our pre-competitive swimmers are paying, and the masters are getting the same amount of service as our competitive swimmers with staff time, meets, sanctioning, etc. So it was felt that the fee needed to be increased to reflect the service that's being provided.
Nancy.
Sorry, my video is unable to start, so I'll just have to use my voice to say that I'm conflicted, because as the newly appointed ambassador to Masters Swimming, I feel that this is a poorly timed price increase when Swim Ontario has recognized the need for Masters advocacy and outreach, and in particular to potentially onboard a couple of thousand members from MSO. And one of the objectives of the work that I'm to do is to do a forensic examination of Masters Swimming, make recommendations. And I feel that this price increase is not in line with, I guess the knowledge that Swim Ontario would have about the Masters, other than saying, now that you are delivering services that match or go beyond the pre-competitive level. but it's weird to come onto a call where you've already made the decision and the very first thing here says these are approved price increases. And process-wise, I am to understand, and this is not official, but I am to understand that the Masters Committee may not have been consulted about this other than to say there'd be an increase, but certainly they wouldn't have anticipated a 66% increase. And it sounds different when you start the meeting saying there will be a 7% increase, which is digestible, even 10%, even something. And then a bar across that screen you showed that said flat fee of $20, which also to some clubs might seem nominal, but it is a dramatic increase. And I'd like to hear that there is a potential recourse. There is a potential hold on this, defer this for a year and a half, give us some time, give Swim Ontario some time to re-examine the relationship it has with Masters and back to the pre-competitive or competitive Masters, the independent and all that, because I didn't do the math on the increase for the independents, but they're moving up $20 as well. So it wouldn't take much to do that calculation to know that it's well above 45%.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. Appreciate that. I'm not sure. So was your question whether or not there would be a moratorium on the fee increase?
Yes. What recourse does one have when you're presenting a finalized price increase that's been approved? And in my opinion, and from what I understand in the short period of time, that the community was not consulted other than to say there'd be an increase. What path do we have available to us? And when I say us, in this context, I mean us, the family of Swim Ontario, not us, the Masters community alone.
Well, other than the board, nobody was consulted on any of the price increases. And that's the board's prerogative as the board.
Yeah, let me
Yeah.
step in here. Okay, thank you. So there are really two issues that were raised here, and they're somewhat different. So one issue is the relationship and the interactions between master clubs, master swimmers, and Swim Ontario. Those are discussions that are important. They need to proceed and they need to go on. The second issue, though, which is primarily the one that we're talking about and which the board has tried to deal with, is the financial one. What we're trying to do is to balance the services we provide, and in some cases, the additional services that we need to provide, either because we've chosen to, or like Safe Sport, because we're required to, with the revenue that we generate. And we break that down into the various categories. In terms of master swimmers, they receive a set of services from Swim Ontario, which is estimated to be closer to what we pay, or what we charge, somewhere halfway between our competitive swimmers and our pre-competitive swimmers. So the idea, to be fair to everybody in the Swim Ontario family, is to try to establish the fees commiserate with the services that we're providing. That's the financial decision that is being made, and that's what the board is charged with. We need to make sure that we generate sufficient revenue to provide the funding that we need to deliver the programming. The other issues that were raised, and they're really good ones, is about master swimming and how it fits into the Swim Ontario family, and those discussions certainly should continue and will continue, and whether it's through the ambassador program or through other measures. So I don't know if that's a really satisfactory answer, but it's an explanation of the fees versus the relationship of Masters with Swim Ontario.
Thank you, Andy. I would like to follow the format that was outlined ahead of time, and I understand that I probably don't have the opportunity to, through you, Your Honor, sort of, answer yet again, because I'm curious about that. To be fair to everyone, if there was a feeling that this wasn't fair across the board, that's my number one question. And the other was, I haven't done the math on what the fee increase would mean to you and your $3.2 million budget, because I was looking at the cost of the stipend being specifically awarded to this Masters Ambassador role, and understanding that you're providing great services. But I would like to know the math on how much this would actually move the budget to you financially. And if it's worth and I'm not suggesting there will be significant blowback, but I have a feeling there could be. Not that that would manifest itself in anything specific that I can think of right now, but certainly myself in this position of outreach to communities and growing masters as part of your sport development program, it feels like a bit of a shot that puts me in.
It's not designed as a shot.
Of course, no. I retract that.
Okay, what we're trying to do, and I certainly appreciate, for lack of a better way, when it comes to masters, a bit of a sticker shock. But what we're trying to do, and this is what I mean by fairness. I mean fairness across the board, is to establish our fees commensurate. I should speak proper English. Commensurate with the services that we provide. It's not an exact science, but what we're trying to say is the fee at the level that it is today was not covering the cost, and we felt an obligation and continue to feel an obligation that it's important that we establish the fees at a level that will sustain the programming and the services that we provide.
I understand that. Yep.
So we're really talking about two different things. I get that. I'm happy to take this offline tomorrow and have a discussion. But there's a couple of other questionnaires there, and
Absolutely.
I think we ought to
Thank
do
you
that.
very much.
But thank you for raising it.
Thank you for letting me be heard.
I think Adele.
Hi. Yeah. Sorry. Prior to the past two comments, I was wondering why masters have historically paid less than pre-competitive swimmers. Like, why has their cost not been increased before?
I don't have an answer for that.
I'll do my very best. Okay. So when Master Swimming became under the umbrella of Swimming Canada and Swim Ontario back, I believe it's 2018. And when we were establishing fees, that's when the fee came in at a low level. Actually, it was split in two, and the amalgamation of one fee, of the lower fee and the higher fee, non-competitive and competitive. It was joined together. So that's where we're at. And for as long as we've been managing the masters, it's been a low fee. Part of it was we were trying to compete with the other program. That was, just to be honest, that's what we were trying to do, and that was that. So I don't know if that helps you, but
yeah,
history.
As registrar and chair, I am all for them paying the same, because as a swimmer to the club, they're the same amount of work to a club as any other swimmer. So the fee increase makes sense.
Thank you. And Scott.
Thanks for taking my question. I guess recognizing that the share of the population under 18 is declining in Ontario due to a number of different factors. Do you anticipate that this increase, the proposed $5 or the approved $5 per swimmer and the 7% likely going to continue to increase beyond this? The pool of swimmers that we have eligible, like in Ontario, is going to be declining over the coming years. And are we just hedging this increase on a smaller and smaller population going forward? Because we also recognize that the fees of operating pools is going to continue to increase as municipalities lose revenue due to there's a lot of other extraneous factors, right, that contribute to other fee increases that are going to be borne to the swimmer, right? And if we want to retain and increase retention of new swimmers and draw people into the pool in the first place, were other opportunities for cost savings explored, or were other avenues in place to sort of limit compounding increases over time?
It's a really great question. I think we're in the position that we're in right now because we chose to let swimmer volume speak for ourselves instead of letting swimmer volume and a modest 2% or 3% increase yearly, take precedence. So that's part of where we're at and why we're there. In terms of declining swimmer populations, that's a really great question, and I wish I had a crystal ball that would that would sort of give you the answer. I know that for the past 5 years since COVID, when other sports have been declining, swimming has been increasing at 5 to 8% a year in terms of population. So although we're plateauing a bit, we're not yet seeing the same decline that other sports are seeing. That's yet to come, maybe, hopefully not. But that's one of the reasons why we're committing to going forward, starting next season, continue to increase the fees at a modest, on average 3%. Now, I mean, don't quote me on that because it will be determined by the CPI, but as an example, if the CPI is 2.5%, that's what fees will go up. If it's 4%, fees will go up 4%. But we're committed to making sure that we're at least keeping pace with inflation, which will help the large once every 7-year increases that we've done in the past.
And if I could just add a comment to that, because that's a very good point that was made. One of the challenges that we have is that there is a finite amount of water in Ontario. That is our limiting factor, and that's why the work that we're doing to encourage municipalities, encouraging the provincial government, and our NSO at the federal level is so essential. One of the fundamental economic realities is that we need more water, more pool space to accommodate growth. There are excellent public policy reasons why those investments should be made, and I think that Darren is right, is pointing out, is we one of the fewer sports that continue to grow. But our growth rate is declining in part because we're up against a limitation in terms of water, and we need to be able to fundamentally break that. We haven't. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we've only built 2 50-meter pools in this province in the 21st century, and before that, we stretch back to we have pools that were built. That were built in the 70s. So we need to address that. We need to address that as a sport.
Yeah, it's 3 actually, Andy. Windsor, TPAS.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you're right.
Don't leave the folks at Windsor hanging.
No, and they have a beautiful pool down there.
Okay, great. Thanks. Krista.
Do masters also pay the $5 Safe Sport fee? I might have missed that, but it's $50 and then also $5 for the Safe Sport fee?
The masters will pay a Safe Sport fee that's equal to their current club affiliation fee. So if masters club affiliation fee is $50, then they'll pay a $50 Safe Sport fee.
Okay.
So there won't be an extra charge. It's not a master's charge. It's not $50 registration fee and then an extra $5. It's connected to the club affiliation fee. So whatever each master's club is paying in their affiliation fee, there will be an equal charge that's called the Safe Sport fee.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Caitlin.
Thanks for the great presentation and for helping us get ahead of our budgets and our budget cycles. It's very helpful. I do have a question about whether, and I'm guessing this is the case, but it might be nice to hear, just looking at the cost driver over the last couple of years, risk related mitigation and response, and whether we're investing in prevention and bolstering like early risk mitigation programming to help keep those costs managed. And I'm guessing the safe sport fee and the way the budget is being allocated there will help with that. But I think that looks like a high reactive cost driver. And I'm curious if there's planning to help have that be reduced or preventable or supported at the club level, what more we can do as well.
So part of what we do with both the Safe Sport program and the club outreach program is we have a yearly presentation about complaints and discipline and culture and what clubs can do to help mitigate risk and mitigate, bad behavior within their clubs. So yes, education is part of it. There are a number of great organizations that will come in and that a club can contract, that'll come in. Dare to Care being one, Care Bear being another. Sorry, Heather, Bruce, if you're still on the line, help me out with the others that you've done great work with, that clubs can come in and have people talk about culture and for lack of a better term right now, sorry, Caitlin, proper behavior, etc.
It's called Brave Education.
Brave Education, yeah.
Brave Education was what I was going to say, and Captains and Poets are two great organizations.
Yeah, so Heather has all of those contacts. If you need something like that, we can absolutely give you contacts to help the education part of your club.
No, that's super helpful. Yeah, I guess I was thinking more big picture level, just because of the level of cost. Maybe it's put on province or multi-club wide kinds of sessions as opposed to a particular club level response. I was just thinking about it. Happy to chat offline another time. I was just trying to imagine coming back to the membership and chat about where the cost drivers are and how we're managing them at the provincial level. So that's awesome. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I had one question there, just to, without beating this to death. The master's fee increase, I just want to kind of understand it a little bit better. The whole thing there where you can't continue to subsidize masters and that the fees are commensurate with the services. And commensurate with equivalent services. Like, can you just explain or help me understand how the services are the same? Because they don't seem to be in my mind, and that could just be my misunderstanding of it. But how are the services of masters the same as as the pre-competitive group?
Well, they're actually greater than the pre-competitive group by a lot. So Masters has its own dedicated staff member and other staff members that help out. Masters has swim meets that are sanctioned multiple times a year. They have provincial championships. They have open water championships that they're allowed to participate in. All of these programming enhancements, plus they have funding for clubs to put on competitive meets, subsidy funding for clubs to put on competitive meets. All these programming enhancements are much greater and much closer to the actual, much greater than what pre-competitive swimmers services they get, and much closer to what the clubs and competitive swimmers receive.
And is that
you have to remember that?
I understand if you're talking the that Masters have sanctioned meets. Okay, yeah, and so do the other ones. But do the number of Masters swimmers relative to the number of meets compare to the number of pre-competitive swimmers and the number of pre-competitive meets there too? Because it doesn't seem like it would be.
Okay, so pre-competitive swimmers don't have their own meets. They're allowed to attend one competitive sanctioned meet before they have to upgrade to full competitive status. The other thing that you need to know is that most pre-competitive swimmers pay that $40 fee and are in a program that lasts 10 weeks. And then a good majority of them are gone. Sometimes they're into 2 10-week sessions, and then they decide to upgrade to competitive status and pay the upgrade fee. Masters were paying $10 less than pre-competitive, or currently paying $10 less than pre-competitive swimmers.
Okay, yeah, I get it nominally, but if you're comparing the actual services and everything on an aggregate, not just the nominal number. And that's what my question is like, it would be interesting to see, like, just for not just my understanding, but for everybody else, like Nancy said, that's going to have a hard time buying this, that if you can see the breakdown, that there's X number of pre-competitive swimmers, they pay this. There's X number of master swimmers, they pay this. There's these services, and not just one service equals one service. Well, if we have so many meets and so many, like the actual volume of and number of meets and broken down per capita is what I guess what I'm getting at. But which isn't to be answered right here, but that would be either a good way to justify and better explain and have everyone understand it, or show that it isn't justified, and therefore we have a fair leg to stand on in objecting to it. But either way, just that explanation would be helpful.
Okay, well, thank you for that. We'll take that under advisement. The other thing I'm going to tell you is right now, based on what other provinces are doing, Swim Ontario Masters pay the lowest registration fee in Canada by far. Your $29 is by far the lowest in Canada.
Okay, yeah, and to Dean's point and Nancy's point, as Dean said, the part of the reason was because we have competition, that we're trying to win over a competitor and be price competitive with them, and therefore that is why a large part of that has been the case, and is still the case, and we're almost there, because as you know, that started in about 2018, and we almost have all that, and it would be a shame to kind of reverse the trend now. But anyway, that's just another point.
Thank you. I think we need to move on to the next question. Debbie's up.
Debbie?
Hi, sorry. Just a clarification question on the registration fees. So the $1,500 affiliation fee will cover the swimmers from a registration standpoint. And then do I understand that there will be an additional $1,500 fee for the Safe Sport coverage? So a total of $3,000?
Right. If you're in the largest club category, in other words, if you have more than 300 competitive swimmers, right?
Yep.
So your current club affiliation fee is $1,500 plus $200 plus $100. So yes, there will be an additional $1,500. So
Okay.
it's 15 plus 15 plus 2 plus 1, which will be 3,300 if my math is correct.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks. Lynn?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about one thing on the Masters side that has not been very well done is the Ontario records. They're like not accurate at all. And other provinces like Quebec, when somebody sets a record, they get recognition, they get certificates. Canada does that, but Ontario does not. So I just wondered if maybe that's something you can put on your list of things to try to improve, is to get those records correct and, you know, send out certificates or acknowledgements when people break them.
Okay, good point. Thanks. Any further questions? What are we doing on time? Approaching 8 o'clock.
Sorry about that. Just have to unmute. I just want to thank everybody for being on the call and for the questions. This will be posted on our website. I'm not sure if it'll be tomorrow, but it'll be in the next short period of time that we will do that. We will continue to communicate on all of these matters, and as I said, as you think about it, and particularly as clubs are working through their budgets and their for upcoming meetings with their parents or upcoming AGMs and getting ready for the 26-27 swim season, please communicate with us, and we'll get back to you and try to provide you all the information that we can. So we're going to close off. I'll just want to, as the chair of the board, I want to take a moment to thank all of the folks that are involved in the swimming community, our coaches, our swimmers, our clubs, our parents, our officials. What you do every day on the deck, the volunteerism that everybody puts forward, swimming would not be possible in this province without the dedication of folks like yourself who are on this call. I also want to take a moment to thank the men and women who staff Swim Ontario. They have very difficult and challenging roles that they have to fill every day. I've had the pleasure of working with them now for a number of years. They do an excellent job. For the most part, they don't know how to say no when they're asked for something. I admire what they do, and I would be remiss if I didn't also thank my fellow board members, many of whom are on this call tonight, for the work that they do. So that having been said, I wish everybody a good night, and thank you very much for attending.